Hello guys, I hope you're all fine. Today I'm going to show you how I did this car animation, and as usual it's a beginner level, so don't worry, it's gonna be very easy. Also, I would like to remind you, in a collaboration with Ashore Cars, who is creating the most beautiful cars on the market, and I mean it, I am giving this beautiful C63 AMG for free. It's already rigged and ready for animation. So I strongly advise that you download this car to follow along with me. The link is in the description. In this tutorial, we are going to cover car animation with the rig, scene setup, camera angles, camera animation, render tips for animation, and compositing in DaVinci Resolve. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section. As you can see, I am answering every comment fairly quickly. The first step is to download the car. Once again, the link is in the description. Or you can of course install the rig on your own car. This is a free rig, and I will put also the link in the description on how to install it. Okay, let's start with the car animation. We delete the default cube, of course, and then you import the car in this scene. And to do this, you click on File, Append, you look for the car. So I think it's here for me. You go in Object, you select everything by pressing A, and then Append. Here you will have the car in the scene. What you can do is to hide, you can hide everything starting with WGT. You select everything, Shift and click, and press H. Let's delete the lights and the second camera. As you can see, the car is already rigged. Okay, so now we are going to create a path for the car to follow. So we press Shift A, Curve, and Path. So here the path. I'm going to rotate it, so like this on the y-axis, minus, okay, and maybe I'm going to scale it a little bit, like this, just to have a better view. And now we are going to attach the rig to the path. So to do so, you click on the rig, here, and you go in Bone Constraints Properties, and add bone constraint, and I cannot select because I have to be in pose mode. So now I do it again, bone constraint properties, and now I can do a follow path. You select your path and you click on a fixed position to limit the offset factor from 0 to 1. So as you can see now, if I put 1, I'm going at the end of the path, which is perfect. And what we are going to do also to have a good orientation, we are going to click on Follow Curve. As you can see, my path is going on the minus y-axis, and so I'm going to indicate that. So the forward axis is minus y. So now we have the car in the correct direction. But as you can see, we have a little issue. Which is the car is not going at the end of the path, and this is because at the beginning of the path it's not well placed. So if you click on the wireframe mode, as you can see, we have the path here, and the car is not starting at the start of the car. If you look at this circle, it should normally be at the beginning of the path. So I'm going back in pose mode, and what you're going to do, you're going to select the car rig, and you go in object properties, and in delta transform you are going to move the initial position. So all you have to do is to position the circle at the beginning of the path, roughly is enough. So I'm going to move on the y-axis like this. Okay, I'm going to zoom a bit here. Where is the beginning of the path? It's here. Okay, perfect. So now I go back on the car rig. Sorry, car rig, and I just move it like this. And if you want to move it slowly, you just have to press Shift. And here I think we are perfect. So now, if I go back in the bones constraint, now the car is going at the end of the path. So that's perfect. Okay, now we are going to keyframe the animation on the path. to see how it goes. So in keying, you have to be sure that you have selected location, rotation, and scale. And then for the animation, we are going to click on the rig and we go in pose mode. So pose mode or control tab. We'll go in pose mode. You are going to select the rig again, the blue one. Okay. On frame 1, you go on bone constraint and the offset factor should be at 0, and then you press I. So we should add a keyframe here, and then we go on frame 250 and we move the offset factor to 1 and press I again. Now we can check the animation. Okay, that's perfect. The car is moving. But we have to change one thing now, which is the interpolation mode. So we right click and interpolation mode, we go for linear. Cool, now it's the same speed, so it's better. Okay, cool. Now we can see that the car is animated on the path. Okay, now we want to shape the path to match our project need. So to do so, we are going to click on the path and tab to go in edit mode. And from the edit mode, I'm going to scroll back to have a better view. I will click on the last point here. You click on E to extrude on the Y axis, so Y. And I will do that like this. I will add another E and Y, maybe a little bit smaller, like this. And let's see, maybe another one because it's too small. Okay. And now with this one, I will click on G to move it, but on the X axis to have a curve like this. Perfect. Like this. And from here, I will click on E, and this time I want to extrude on the X axis like this. So we have this nice curve to test the drift effect. And now if I press spacebar to see the animation, I can see that my car is very too slow. And I know that here I want to add some buildings, some animation. I want to run another camera. So I need some more space for the animation. So I'm going to extrude it again. So E and X. And maybe like this. And another one, E and X. And again, E and X. So I'm creating multiple points because at a point, maybe I want to do a curve again, a little one, like this one. I will click on J and move it only on the Y and X axis. So it's Shift Z to block the Z axis. So, you know, I could do something like that. And now let's test the speed of the car. Yep, looks fine to me. Let me check again. Okay, let's say that I'm happy with the speed of the car. So at this stage, it's very important that you validate the speed of your car and also that you validate the shape of your path, okay, and the size. Why? Because now we are going to deal with the keyframings and the drift effect, the wheels rotation, the wheel steering, etc. So if you move your path or you change your path, all the keyframes will be different because the timings will be different. So it's very important that you validate everything now. Okay, now we are going to animate the wheels, steering and rotation. But in order to do so, it's better to have a camera to see what's going on. So let me check. Okay, I have an issue here. I don't know if you will have the same, but my camera is in the rigs. So just to do it quickly, I'm going to delete this camera. And maybe to have a better organization, I will create a new collection. And maybe we create a collection named Tools. I will move the path to the Tools collection. And so only the car is here. And in Tools collection, I'm going to add a camera. So add camera like this. I'm going to position where I want it to be. And from here, you're going to click on Ctrl Alt 0. So it will position the view of your camera. Okay, that's perfect. And now you click 0 again to go back. Okay, now we want to cap around the camera to the car. So first you click on the camera, then on the car, and you press Ctrl P and object. So now the camera will move with the car. So that's perfect, because now if I go in camera mode, I can see what's going on with the wheels. Okay, so now to animate the wheels, this is the cool part. You have to click on the rig. You go in pose mode. So once again, pose mode or Control Tab. And from here, you go on the Rigger Car add-on. You select the blue rig, okay, not the green one, but the blue one. And from here, you can press Bake Car Steering. So it will automatically animate the wheels for us. You just have to check that the start frame is 1 and the end frame 250. I mean the length of your animation. I don't know what's yours, but for me it's 250. I press OK. And from there, as you can see, it's creating keyframes. So if we check now what's going on in the camera view and press spacebar, as you can see now, the wheels are animated and are following the path. Okay, that's good for the steering. And now we are going to do the same for the wheels rotation. So we just have to press Bake Wheels Rotation, same check, and you press OK. And now it's creating keyframes. And now, as you can see, we have the wheels animated. So that's perfect. Okay, now let's deal with the drift animation. And in order to do so, we are going to use a disc controller, okay, for the drift. If we look at our path, we know that the drift should happen here. So okay, so in order to do so, we are going to keyframe this controller. So you press the dot to show it better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on the controller and press I. So it's going to add a keyframe. To have a better view of the keyframes used for this controller, you can click on summary here. And here you have the drift. Or if you want, you can just type drift. And it will only focus on the drift. So here, the keyframes I'm using, okay? So let me do this to have a better view. And maybe around here, I want this controller to drift. So as we say, I press a G, sorry. G and go minus, I don't know, like this, and press I again, like this. So let me test. Okay, and then I want it to go back at the normal position, maybe here. I press 0 and I. Wait, not a normal position, because normally the car will not do like drift and then normal again. It might be like an elastic, and going back first on the other side. So we are just going to move it a little bit on the other side. I don't know, something like that maybe. Press I again to record. And now it's going this way, then the other way first, and then it should go back to normal. So for the normal position, let's maybe here. Yeah, here we go in normal position, 0. So we press I again for the keyframe. So let's test that. Okay, cool. It looks not bad at all. For this animation, you don't want to go in the interpolation mode linear. You should leave it like this in Bezier. Okay, maybe I think the car is not drifting enough for my taste, but of course it depends really of your taste. I will go to minus 60. I prefer that. I press I again to record. Yeah, I prefer that. And maybe I think I should start the drift a little bit before the turn. Maybe it's a little bit too late for my taste. So I will start at 60. Yeah, I like it better. And it seems that it's going back a little bit too soon. Okay, I would like to drift it a little bit longer. So I will go like, I don't know, maybe here. Yeah, I prefer this. Concerning the car, we need to do one more animation, which is the centrifugal force. And for that, we are going to use this controller and keyframe it. Okay, to help, we are going to use the keyframes that we already did for the drift effect. So we started the drift effect at frame 60. So we do the same for this controller. So we press I. And then we have the maximum angle of the drift here at minus 60. So we will do the same for the centrifugal force. So here, what we are going to do, we are going to go behind the car and move this controller on the SX axis to move the car like this, and maybe a little bit behind like this. Okay, now we have, and I'm pretty happy with that. We do not have to exaggerate the effect. So we press I, and then we go here when we went on the other side, and we are going to do the same. So Alt G to reset, and then a little bit like this, and a little bit like this on the other side, and I again, and then Alt G to reset and press I. Okay, now that we finished the animation, we are going to work on the scene setup. First the road, the buildings and cars. For the sake of this tutorial, I will not be able to model everything with you, but I have prepared a road object that you could use to follow along. As usual, the link is in the description. Okay, for the road, you have to click on File, Append, and you look for the model I just gave you. So it's a simple road, and you go in Collection and Road, and you append. Here you have the road in your scene. I'm going to rotate it on the Z-axis, 90 degrees, and place it. I like this. And I will switch to material preview. Okay, so maybe I will scale the road a little bit like this. Okay, for the road, we are going to add several modifiers. The first one is an array modifier. So I will click on the modifiers, add modifier, and add an array. It's going on the wrong side. So I do in the factor X, we'll write -1, and then add some count. As you can see, the road is going on the Y axis. So to change that, we are going to add a curve modifier here, curve. And the object that we want to follow is the path. Okay, let me add some more count. As you can see, it is not very smooth because our road has no cuts for the moment. So we go in edit mode. You just click on the road and you go in edit mode by pressing tab. In edit mode, you press Ctrl R to add loop cut. And here I will add around 12 loop cut. That's enough. And I go back in object mode, and now you see that the turns are smooth. Okay, let's see if my car stays on the road. Yep, when he's doing his drift, that's perfect. Okay, cool. And there is one last thing I wanted to show you concerning the car animation and the interaction with the road. It's if in the road, on the road, if I add another modifier, for example, a displace modifier here, and I add a texture. Let me go in texture properties and I select, for example, cloud. Maybe I go back in the modifier and I modify the strength to be, for example, 0.3. Now, if you see that the car is concerned about the road modification, but now, if I click on the rig and I activate the ground sensor, so you click on the rig car and you go in ground sensor and you put the road as the ground for every wheels like this. Now we don't have to bake again, you can leave it like this, but the car, as you can see now, maybe we see a bit away like this. Now you can see that the car is following the bumps on the road. So that's great if you want to add some realism to the animation, to add some bumps on the road. Concerning the buildings, I will not be able to model everything with you, that would be too long. There is a cool pack that I'm using all the time. It's made by William Landgreen and it's only $2. In this pack you will have everything that you need for a car animation: buildings, roads, street lights, street props, etc. And I like this pack because it's very low poly but still realistic enough for car animation. Of course, you can model everything yourself. Tell me in the comment section if you need tutorials on this. Okay, so for the buildings I just use stuff that are in the pack. I just copy them from the file to my scene. And when I want to duplicate them, I just press Alt-D in order to use less memory. Once again, they are really low poly, so it will not hurt your computer or your viewport. As you can see, my viewport is still very smooth. And as you saw in the final renders, the result is still pretty good and pretty realistic. For the cars that I need in high definition and photorealistic, I'm using the transportation add-on. Personally, I think this is a huge add-on for car lovers. There are 55 vehicles, HDRI backplates in the add-on. The crazy part is the quality of the cars. As you can see, those are really high quality models and photorealistic, and they come already rigged for animation. But I will do another video for this add-on because I really think that it's the best one for cars on the market. Of course, you also have a free option using Blender Kit, for example. If you want to know how to do this, just check my other tutorial right here. So to add a car with the transportation add-on, I just select the car that I want. As you can see, there are a lot of categories: public transport, rally, sedan, urban, etc. And if I want to add a car, I just click on Add Vehicle. And then here I have the car. Once again, I'm very impressed by the quality of those models. Let me show you a render of this image. As you can see, it's very clean and very realistic for an add-on. And for the distant cars, I will use the one in a Williams pack because we can't really see them in the scene, so it's perfect with those cars. They will not affect my render times. Concerning the fog, it's very easy. You just have to create a cube like this one, and you just go in the shading tab and you create a volume scatter for this cube. And the density that I often go for is 0.01, and you plug the volume scatter to the volume of the material output. Now we are going to take care of the camera angles and animation. The way I like to select my frame is by using references. I just browse YouTube for car videos and see what I like. So I encourage you to do the same and find what fits your style. Okay, let's check the first shot from behind. For this shot, the camera setup is very simple. You just select the camera and you place the camera where you want it to start. For me, it was here. I have a 50mm selected, and I have a depth of field to 2.8. It's up to you, but you can put it at 1.8 or 2.8, or maybe more if you want a more depth of field. And I decided to put my focus on the wheel, this wheel. The camera animation is very simple for this one. I just went on a frame 72, 3 seconds after, because I have 24 images per second. And from here, you just have to be sure that in the view tab, you have the camera to view ticked. And from here, you just have to place the camera where you want it to be. And for the interpolation mode, don't forget to switch to linear. So then you have this animation. It's up to you where do you want to place the camera at the end of the shot. I just forgot to mention that, of course, every time you want to add a keyframe, you just have to be on the camera, here, the camera, and where you want the keyframe, just have to press I in order for it to place a keyframe like this. Okay, now let me show you how I did this shot. It's pretty simple too. Let me delete this first. And for this one, I went for the animation of the focal length also. So I think at frame 125, let me go on the camera, and here I put a keyframe on the focal length, so it was 50, so I press I here, so it's adding a keyframe, and at the end of the shot I want a new value, for example at 400 millimeter, okay, and then I add another keyframe, but of course I have to reframe my shot, okay, maybe here. But here, I want the camera to follow the car a little bit more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another keyframe, for example, here, and move the camera up here. And I add a keyframe. For better control, I will go in linear mode also. Let me check. Okay, it's good. But as you can see, I have a very hard movement on the camera. It's not very smooth. In order to fix that, you are going to open another window here. You are going to go in Graph Editor. You select all the keyframes, click Key, and Sample Keyframes. I already showed this technique in one of my other videos, so it's the same principle. So just simple keyframes. So it add some keyframes for you. Here I will press the dot. Let me show you. I will select everything and I will press Alt O. Maybe just a few times. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, as you can see now, it's very smooth. Okay, now I think you have all the tools if you want to do your own camera animation. Just place keyframes, and if it's not smooth enough, you just sample keyframes and Alt O to smooth everything. Okay, concerning the render times, to check if your animation is good, you often have to render it. Of course, as you know, rendering a single frame can take an unfairly long time, so 250 of them could take days. To speed my render time and to see how the result would look like, I use 128 samples. So here, 128, and change the resolution to 1920 to 817. That will result in a symmetric ratio, like this one. And that's already a lot of render time saved, as there are less pixels to render. On top of that, I only render 50% here. I change to 50% of the real size, and I select only the frame I want to check. Of course, you don't want to render the entire animation all the time. Just focus on the part you want to check. Concerning the final render, I use renders from 400 samples, and when it's too heavy, sometimes I go to 256. But I think 256 is the lower you should use for your final renders. And of course, I will use 100% of the size, so 1920 on 817. Okay guys, the video is already 30 minutes long. I'm very sorry for that, and I still have to cover the compositing section in DaVinci Resolve, so I will try to do it quickly. In DaVinci Resolve, one of the most important steps is to add the camera shake. As you can see, the render looks good, but there's something missing. And the camera shake adds a lot to the realism of the scene. So what we are going to do in DaVinci Resolve, you're going to go in Effect Library, and you go on OpenFX, and you search for shake. And here you have the camera shake. you just have to drop the effect on your clip to activate it. So here I already have it here. I let you see my settings because I will not have the time to cover all my settings for the camera shake, but you can see everything here. The idea for this first scene is to have a very quick camera movement. So let me activate it. Okay. And now, as you can see, it's better looking with the camera shake. Okay, because I went for a lot of fog in my scene, I thought that it would be cool to add some particles, some snowish particles. So this is what I did in Blender. I just created a plane which is emitting some particles. If you need me to cover this part more in details, just ask it in the comment section. But what I will do, I will provide the frames, the PNG that I use, that I created for the particles, so you can play with them. Okay, let me activate the particles. Okay, so now as you can see, I have my particles activated and it looks better. It's adding some details to the scene. One other thing that I did, but it's not that important, I added a vignette in DaVinci Resolve. The effect you just for this effect you just have to do like for the camera shake. You just go type vignette and you drop it on your car. It's not that important. It's just adding some contrast to the scene. And finally, what was also very important, of course, in DaVinci Resolve was the grading. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to cover all the grading I did, but I promise that I will do a dedicated video for that, to grade your footage to give them a more cinematic look. So if I activate the grading in DaVinci Resolve, here the result, I add some grain, some bluish, some contrast, some bridge on all the image, and you have this result. And also one thing, in the timeline, in the output blanking, I select 235 to give those bars here to give your footage a more cinematic look. And of course, after that, you have all the sounds that I added to the scene to have the result that you saw at the beginning of the video. Okay guys, that's it for this long tutorial. I'm very sorry, there was a lot to cover. Don't hesitate again if you have questions in the comment section. Thanks if you're still here after all this time, and I see you in the next video. Thank you.